Welcome, friends, to your fortnightly lunar report from me, Freyja, at Freyja Astrology. This fortnight, we are talking about the full moon in Libra, which takes place on the 2nd of April at 12 degrees of Libra. A full moon is always when the sun and the moon are in exact opposition. So here we have the sun at 12 degrees of Aries and the moon at 12 degrees of Libra. This opposition provides a great amount of light on a particular zodiac sign, and we also get a bounce back and forth between the zodiac sign in which we are experiencing the full moon, Libra in this instance, and the zodiac sign where the sun is experiencing the full reflection from the moon as well, which is this energy of Aries. So we actually get quite a lot of Aries and Libra energy at this full moon in Libra. And I'm calling this full moon the full moon of upgrade, revelation, renovation, inspiration, and divine insight. And it is a culmination point. Always with a full moon, we are talking about a culmination point of something, the end point, the final chapter in a larger overall story, which has been preceded by the previous 6 months when we got the new moon in Libra 6 months ago. Now we receive the full moon in Libra 6 months later on the 2nd of April, which in the UK is happening just after 2 a.m. So this will be a night when we get a full moon at 2 a.m. Sometimes this can be a time of the month where we are not sleeping particularly well because we have so much lunar and solar energy kind of bouncing around. So this can be a time when sleep is kind of impacted, when our dreams and our passions and our desires just feel much more heightened, much more immediate. So this is a full moon, which is in the sign of Libra, which is a Venus-ruled sign. Libra is a cardinal air sign. So this is Venus's habitat in an airy kind of social quality. Air is always connected to social interactions, conversations, sharing of ideas and thoughts, things which come from our head and kind of exit through our mouths. And Libra is very concerned with social dynamics, how we associate with other people, what is our kind of social standing in society. It's almost kind of, this sounds like an old-fashioned phrase, but kind of class-driven, kind of like, where do I sit in the experience of our world? And that's quite a patriarchal view that we think about this idea of kind of hierarchy. And being a Venus-ruled full moon, we are thinking about women in that hierarchy. And so when we look at collective events, global events, we can see that women are very kind of prominent at this full moon. This is in particular a full moon ruled by Venus, when Venus has just picked up a butt ton of energy and dignity, and just kind of her expression is moving back towards herself, as opposed to being very connected to this Aries energy, which is much more hot and fiery and connected to going into battle with other people to express ourselves. Here, Venus takes a real slowdown. She moves into the sign of Taurus just a couple of days before this full moon is complete. Ruled by a very steady Venus in Taurus, we are thinking sensuality themes being highlighted. We're thinking women, sisters, femininity. We're thinking lust. But that's a very Venus term, which we don't often hear. Sexuality, we're thinking material resources, art and aesthetics, appearances, beauty, decoration, amazing music. We're thinking culture. This is all very intertwined with this full moon in Libra, ruled by a Venus in Taurus, which is a fixed earth sign. And we are thinking about grounding into some of those sensual practices that are of the earth, maybe taking a walk in the woods, maybe eating a piece of cake, maybe eating some super healthy organic food that you've grown in your own garden. You know, abundance is really starting to show up in the world of kind of agriculture right now, whether that be a micro agriculture in your own house, growing lettuce leaves on your windowsill and starting to actually reap the benefits of some of that homegrown goodness. This is very Venus in Taurus, enjoying those sensual pleasures where you can smell the earth that the food has been grown in, where you can connect to your sense of smell and taste in a much stronger way than we can throughout other times of the year when Venus is in other signs, such as Aries, where she's speeding along. She's far too interested in getting somewhere quickly and starting new things, as opposed to slowing down, savoring the moment, savoring the experience. This is slow, languid coffee mornings with friends. This is going out for a lunch and it lasting 4 hours. This is going for a walk in nature and not having to rush home to do anything. This is really just a beautiful time of embodied slowness for our well-being. The Taurus house in our birth chart is where we're going to be thinking about how is this showing up for me. So when we talk about horoscopic astrology, it is always how is this transit, in this case the full moon in the sign of Libra, ruled by a Venus in Taurus, showing up for me in my life. So in the example of this chart here, we have a Capricorn rising. So the full moon in Libra would be in the 10th house of any Capricorn risings. If you're a Capricorn rising, this full moon is in your 10th whole sign house. And the ruler of this full moon is a Venus in Taurus in your 5th whole sign house. So that means we're connecting themes from 10th house of career, success, public titles that we have in the world, like parent or caregiver or son, daughter, aunt, cousin, friend. And then also the 5th house of creativity, children, play, romance, fun, and joy. Depending on which house it is in your birth chart, you get this idea of like, okay, so I'm experiencing a lot of attention and illumination in this example, in the 10th house, in the Libra house of my birth chart. So if you're a Cancer rising, the opposite sign, then these houses would be reversed for you. So it would be a full moon in your 4th house of home, family, roots, family tree, soul tribe. And then the ruling planet of Venus in Taurus is in the 11th house of community, friends, and personal cheerleaders. So you see how, depending on your rising sign, which is governed by the time you were born, the date you were born, and where you were born, the location, we put the full moon in a particular house area, which signifies particular parts of life really coming to life, being really fully illuminated by the full moon light. And then the ruling planet also has something to say in our experience. So in the case of Cancer risings, that Venus in Taurus is illuminating this kind of social quality with this very kind of private, what's happening at home quality that can occur in the 4th house. So what I find absolutely fascinating about this full moon, and really exciting and exhilarating as well, is that this is our last full moon in the sign of Venus, whilst Uranus is also in the sign of Venus, in the fixed earth sign of Venus, which is Taurus. And so this is like a final... This is like the encore, if you were in your own stage show, the encore of the last 8 years of the Uranus in Taurus transit, which has been taking place. Uranus moved into Taurus back in 2018 and has been destabilizing, shaking the very solid ground beneath our feet, which is always the Taurus house of our birth chart. So in this example, in the fifth house, the Taurus house would be ruling over things like romance, fun, children, creativity, play, and really shaking up that very stable base that we don't like to experience change in, the very Taurus house of our birth chart, where we're like, no, I like things to stay the same. It's fixed earth. I'm keeping my environment exactly the same in this life area. In this example, the 5th house life area, fun, creativity, everything that I just said. And it has been shaken and awakened anyway, despite the fact that we say we don't like change in the Taurus part of our birth chart house. Uranus comes along in whatever sign she's in, so in this case Taurus, and she says, no, time for a shake-up, time for a wake-up. You don't need to live with these preconceived views about what your material reality needs to be in this particular part of your life. Look what else is possible. Look what else you can do if you just roll with the way that things are going. It's not a comfortable energy, Uranus in Taurus. It's been very destabilizing. It's been very transformational. It's been very confrontational at times because, like I say, we don't like change in the Taurus house of the birth chart, but it's also a massive upgrade that we experience. And in that Taurus house of our birth chart, when we think back over the last 8 years, since 2018, when Uranus moved into Taurus, we think about, oh my, that life area, what was it like back in 2018? And how has it changed and dramatically transformed and been hugely upgraded over the last 8-year period? I don't even recognize that side of myself anymore because I have received these dynamic downloads that have come into my psyche and my being and kind of up-leveled me. No matter how uncomfortable it was, I traversed these changes. I'm still here. I'm still standing. I'm still solid on this earth. I can feel the ground beneath my feet. I am part of nature. Nature is part of me, and I am here to stay. And that is a really beautiful way to honor the Taurus energy in our birth charts. It's very solid, very much underpinning our existence in this physical realm and keeping us here. Whereas with Uranus in Taurus the last 8 years, it could have felt like, oh my gosh, am I of this earth? Am I of the soil that I keep my bare feet upon whenever I can to reconnect with source, reconnect with nature? Or am I feeling like I'm kind of floating off into the stars, you know, very much guilty? But Taurus keeps us here on this solid earth and gives us these experiences, particularly with Uranus in Taurus, of dynamic upgrade within our material resources. So here are some journaling questions that you can use for this full moon in Libra. What have you learned about yourself since 2018 where you don't necessarily recognize that person you were 8 years ago? Where are you no longer the same but changed forever? So similar kind of energy. And thank goodness you took the jump. Can you find the beauty, the Venusian sensual beauty in this full moon, in the sign of Venus, that quality where you can see that this beautiful upgrade is complete? It's almost like doing a makeover on yourself, particularly Taurus risings, because this would mean that Uranus has been in your first house for the last 8 years, completely renovating and upgrading the person that you are and changing you. Maybe you've always had a bob haircut and you've decided over the last 8 years that you really like your hair short and spiky and you feel just much more you in your skin. This would be very much a Taurus rising energy with Uranus soon to leave your first house. So it's trying on different looks, trying on different material realities around you to see what fits with me now and where do I feel really excited to be moving into the future with this sense of trepidation and excitement. So your upgrade is complete. Uranus will move into the sign of Gemini early summer this year. So we have just got a little bit of time left with Uranus in Taurus, and this full moon in Libra highlights the real benefits that have been kind of bequeathed to us from the entirety of that last 8-year transit of Uranus. Time to take a step back and assess your reincarnation, particularly Taurus risings, but any of us with Taurus in the whole sign house of the birth chart. This is where we are looking at new versions of ourselves, new parts of our lives, which have been upgraded forever and transformed. This full moon in Libra is in a square aspect to Jupiter in Cancer, quite a close square aspect to Jupiter in Cancer, with Jupiter separating from that square. So it has less of a strong impact, but however, Jupiter in Cancer is now direct and functioning very strongly. So there is a sense here again of this idea of embodiment. How am I embodying this idea of listening to my physical body, listening to my nourishment needs, listening to my material needs, which keep me of this land, of this body, connected to the earth, connected to the trees, connected to nature, connected to animals. Jupiter in Cancer being involved in this conversation of the full moon, it's like, where is your sense of nourishment now starting to write its own recipe book so that you can keep referring back to this grounding sense of, I know who I am, I know what nourishment is good for me now and what nourishment sits well in me. I know what quality looks like over quantity as well. That's very much a Taurus energy. It's impossible to speak about this full moon in Libra without speaking about this massive stellium that we have in Aries, which is only going to expand and get bigger when Mercury and Mars finally join the Aries party in the next few weeks. We have got the full moon in Libra opposing all of this Aries energy, which is a strong oppositional energy. There is a great amount of tension between Libra and Aries. Libra is very much, going back to the beginning of the video, connected to this idea of social constructs and making sure that everybody's involved, everybody's happy, we're considering things from all points of view, whereas Aries, in opposition to all of this Libra full moon energy, full moon light, is saying, what about me? What about my needs? What about my inner child that just wants to move forwards. And I would say that, in fact, now that we have this kind of graduation from the Uranus and Taurus years as well, we are moving much more strongly into this Aries energy, where it's like, yes, it is okay to be me. No, I don't need to worry about destabilizing this very Taurus part of my birth chart, because Aries is the energy of the direction that we are moving in. This is the direction of travel. We've got the Sun, we've got Saturn, we've got Neptune, we've got Chiron, all in a whole sign opposition to the full moon in Libra. We're thinking about adding those solid structures of Saturn to our Neptunian dreams of pure passion, pure delight. What are we creating in this lifetime? Is it a relationship in our 7th house or 5th house? Is it the idea of moving into our own journey of spirituality? Are we more interested in the idea of sex and sacred soul contracts? Are we more interested in the idea of the subconscious and release and surrender and faith? Are we interested in the idea of communication and travel and short journeys? Are we interested in health over here in the 6th house and daily routines? What is it? What is Aries saying in your birth chart that is like, come on, now is the time to spark the energy? Because when Mars moves into Aries in the coming weeks, there is a full-on, this is the go, the green go sign that the gnome has just flipped round and we are full steam ahead. In terms of relating this full moon in Libra to your monthly cycle, we are thinking about Venus energy. We are thinking about estrogen. We are thinking about some of those words I want to come back to, some of those Venusian words that I want to come back to, of lust, friendships, sensuality, socializing. Where have we been the good girl? Where have we been people pleasing? This was very much in theme over the last couple of years when the North and South Node were in Aries and Libra, before they moved into Pisces and Virgo just last year in 2025. Where have I been people pleasing? Where have I not been putting myself first? And how am I feeling that through my monthly cycles? Am I able to express my estrogen in its full, beautiful, fertile delight? How do I feel at day, I don't know, 9 to 14, whichever day that you ovulate on? How am I feeling? Am I illuminated? Am I seen? Am I recognized? Am I heard? Am I being very visible in the world? And am I kind of displaying my peacock feathers? I think it's male peacocks, isn't it? But fuck it, we are female peacocks. We have got beautiful feathers and they are there to be seen, be them blue, turquoise and gold, or be them brown, black and maroon. You know, we are all parts of a sacred, colorful rainbow, and we are all here to be visible and to be heard and to be seen at that point of ovulation. And so where are you in your cycle at this full moon? Are you ovulating? Are you in your bleed phase? Are you in your luteal phase? Whereabouts are you in your cycle? How are you expressing your sacred femininity? This is really the call to action at this full moon in Libra. Thanks so much for joining me for this full moon update, and I'll be with you in 2 weeks' time for the next new moon.